What's up, EO hackers? Welcome to the C.S. Joseph podcast. I'm your host, C.S. Joseph, and today's episode we're going to be discussing attraction, but from the male perspective to women. We're going to be discussing a particular topic that seems to boggle at least half of women in terms of why men are having a hard time committing to them. But we're going to be discussing it from an Octagram point of view. Many people in this audience still just do not understand how important the Octagram actually is. And it is extremely important. The reason why is because when you have 8 total Octagrams, 8 total nurtures, 4 for women and 4 for men, because it's human nurture, there's a lot of prerequisite behaviors that need to be accounted for before personality type. Oftentimes, when it comes to attraction, when it comes to sexual relationships, when it comes to compatibility, everyone in general is just very ignorant of the importance of human nurture. And human nurture ultimately is this thing where if left accounted for, it doesn't matter if you think you match from a personality type perspective. You're not going to have a successful relationship. And the reason why is as I've stated before, cognitive projection, or these biases that people have in terms of perceiving each other, or even at worst, judging one another in terms of a person's viability for a relationship. And this is especially bad when it comes to women. This is why women rely on something called chick crack. Chick crack being things like astrology, MBTI, socionics, hexaco, enneagram, disc system, these kinds of things. In terms of being able to identify someone who's actually compatible with you, because given the importance of a woman's choice of man, giving up her virginity, a man that she chooses that she would like to be married to, it ends up becoming a really big problem because women end up making uninformed decisions, especially. That's not to say that men are making uninformed decisions either, because they are. The problem is with culture right now is that a lot of men are exiting the dating environment and they're just deciding to opt out of dating and opt out of marriage, because having sex, for example, is extremely expensive, and the risk of it is extremely detrimental to men in general. And so because of this, men, because they control access to commitment, they're just not committing anymore, because to most men in general, it's just not worth it, because at any moment a woman can destroy your life as a man. And what's interesting is that there are some interesting statistics when you consider the octagram, because certain octagrams of women are more likely to destroy your life compared to others, which means there are safer choices based on the psyche of a woman. You know, some people would say, they ignorantly would claim that certain personality types of women are more ignorant, or are more likely to divorce you, or more likely to cheat on you, or more likely to destroy your reputation or destroy your life as a man. But the reality of the situation is that looking at the data from a personality typing perspective, it's just not accurate. And the reason why is because everyone is just ignorant of the octagram. You have to know the octagram first, because that's where those statistics would actually lie, right? So, for example, subconscious developed women, and these are the women who are typically raised in isolation, these are the women who are more likely to divorce you. They're more likely to development phase you. Development phase is when a woman turns 35 to 42, in that age range. It gets into like an 80% likelihood, over 80% likelihood that they're going to initiate divorce with you as a man. So men in general, it's like, why have these commitment issues? Based on 2020 Census Bureau statistics, Myron Gaines wrote a book called Why Women Deserve Less. And then his second book, Why Women Deserve Even Less. These books have a lot of scary statistics within them that basically show why men, though they control access to commitment, they're not committing. And what's interesting about that, unconscious developed men are more likely to commit. But that's because they're compatible with unconscious developed women who are less likely to initiate divorce, as an example. So, as a result of that, men, especially subconscious developed men, are not really going to engage in commitment. Subconscious developed men in general like to play things safe. So because of that, they see commitment as something that is in general unsafe. So what they end up doing is they still have a physical need for sex. Women want sex, they're very desirous for sex, but men have a physical need for sex. And so what they end up doing is these subconscious developed men end up pumping and dumping women. They end up treating women basically like toys. You know, they have the Lycus 101 mindset, and it's really disgusting and terrible treatment of women. However, that comes as a result. It is a response, a natural response to how women are treating men collectively. Because again, these statistics, 83% chance for a woman between ages 35 or 36 to 42 to initiate divorce with a man, according to Census Bureau statistics. And then if she's college educated, that statistic jumps up to 94%, which is terrible. Which basically means, if you think about it, ladies, if you're a career woman, your ability to secure commitment from a man is greatly reduced. It's very hampered, it's dampened, it's not likely. You know, subconscious developed women, they typically have this thing where they want to be career-minded first and then save having children later. But then they're COVID vaccinated, we live in a toxic Western society. They're not likely to have pregnant, and their ability to have children is very reduced because they spend all their fertile years on getting an education, 18 to 25, getting their education, getting their degree, so they can have that job or whatever, that career. The problem is that career, that job, that degree increases their chances of initiating divorce to 94%. And the subconscious developed men have just actually become aware of this. And as a result, they're very unlikely to feel safe to actually commit. And this is why sometimes subconscious developed women end up in this endless dating cycle where they're adding to their sexual history over time, or they're in a situation where they'll be in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship for years, or even a situationship for years. Situationship, which is a sexual relationship without labels. That's a situationship. And SD women really, really end up having a struggle for this in the dating environment. Honestly, the pick-me's have it better. They have it a lot better. The unconscious developed women, especially the UDPF women, because they're the most feminine, they're the least caring about a career, even though society oftentimes tries to mold them into a subconscious developed archetype with their octagram, so getting them to be encouraged to be focused on being a career woman. But a career woman destroys them in the dating market. And it doesn't matter what octagram you have as a woman, being a career woman will destroy your position on the dating market, in as much as you increasing your sexual history will destroy you on the dating market. Like, for example, I recommend to men that virgins only, but if she's had sex with at least one man, statistically, you're okay if you're the second man that she has sex with. But if she has sex with 3 or more men at all, and you're the third or higher, commitment is just statistically unwise, because there's a 74% chance that she's going to initiate divorce, because the higher sexual history a woman has, she is not exactly a commitment material. She's not wife material in the eyes of men in general, and it's statistically proven. So this becomes a serious problem, a serious threat to a woman's well-being. This is why we have a lot of dog moms and cat moms, women who are alone by age 40. And there's the other statistic that by 2030, over half of eligible women, women who are in their childbearing years, will actually be alone. Over half of women will be alone. Half of women will be single or in situationships without commitment. Men have learned that because of women's hypergamy and this concept of open hypergamy that has been preached by the likes of Rollo Tomasi, aka George Miller, that open hypergamy is the cultural norm now. So as a result, men in general, especially subconscious developed women, because they're extra sensitive, because they like to play things safe, they like things safe and secure, they're just not committing to women. Because from their perspective, society is not going to back them up, and it's too risky to have commitment, way too risky. So, especially since, like, in general, women aren't virgins, they have a sexual history, they enjoy their party years and have tons of sex with a lot of different men, and they have so much baggage. This sexual history is baggage, just like them being a single mom and having children is baggage. And this causes men to just have no desire to commit. Men will have sex with these women, but they won't commit, which is a form of pumping and dumping. And that, too, is a big problem. So women are very unaware of this concept. And it's subconscious developed women that fall in this trap the most. Unconscious developed women do fall in this trap, but mostly because they've had the culture and their parents participating in this culture actually force this on them unfairly. And this has been like a serious issue for them over time. So, as a result, what do? Well, you as a woman, you need to take like some inventory of your life. Look at your sexual history. Look at how much baggage you have. Realize that your career, in of its own right, is baggage. Society should be structured in such a way where a woman's virginity and chastity should be protected. And to the point where a woman is completely fine without even needing a career at all. Because those are the highest quality women. Those are the women, that's how you build a high value woman, basically. But it starts at home, and it starts with the father. And the father should know this and raise his daughter with this perspective. But the problem is the father can't, because the father has already had the mother of that girl divorce him. See the problem? It creates this endless spiral. It creates an endless spiral where culturally men are not willing to commit, and as a result our population will go down. Because the risks of having sex by itself, especially since any woman can claim coercive control laws are primeval. They can also claim rape. They can make any of these false claims and nothing bad happens to them, and the man's life is entirely destroyed. His reputation, his finances, everything. And that doesn't even include divorce. This continues to be a major, rampant problem with society. And it's subconscious developed women who swallow this concept hook, line, and sinker. And it becomes even worse over time. So, as a result, you really just got to be aware of this concept. And the inverse relationship between male commitment and female sexuality, the more sexual history a woman has, the lower potential a man has, which means she'll only be able to attract losers, basically. But even then, the losers, the men who don't have very much future potential, the men who have focused on getting that safe, secure job, etc., and doing everything else that the other men are doing in society, even then, still, those loser men are not likely to commit to those women anyway because the risks are too high. And this is as a result of feminism. And the subconscious developed women swallow feminism like hook, line, and sinker, and then guess what? The UD women have it forced upon them, so they too end up having problems as well. And this is why oftentimes UD women end up running off and eloping, because they are rebelling against the system that is against their typical pick-me, unconscious developed female interests. This is why it is absolutely critical that you folks learn the Octagram and learn about these psychological traits, so you can make better decisions, better life decisions about your life, especially when it comes to relationships involving commitment or sexuality for both genders. It is absolutely critical. You can do this at my school membership, school.com/CS Joseph, SKOOL. So yeah, go check that out, learn about the Octagram, get educated, and figure out strategies that you can utilize to prevent as much damage to yourself and anyone that you're in a relationship with as a result. That way you can do your best to at least have some opportunity or some chance at being in a good and safe and healthy sexual relationship. So anyway, folks, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.